Have you ever chased a dream or a belief so passionately that you ignored the signs telling you it might not be right for you? And how often do we misinterpret our destiny, clinging to shadows while the real treasure awaits our recognition? This story questions the nature of destiny, the power of dreams, and the strength it takes to let go of long-held beliefs. As we unfold this story, ask yourself, are you holding on to something that no longer serves you? Can letting go lead you to a truer path? This is not just a story about a penguin's quest for love. It's a reflection on our own struggles with faith, destiny, and the courage to embrace change. Now, to our video. From her earliest age, the dream of the little penguin had been to find the love of her life. Every night she would turn her prayers to the sky, asking to meet a mate who could make her happy, and whom she could make happy in return. One day, she felt that her pleas had finally been heard in a dream. A voice told her, "Tomorrow you will meet the love of your life." The little penguin woke up full of anticipation, and her excitement grew even more when she discovered that a large group of new inhabitants had arrived in their colony that morning. These penguins had come from distant places to work there. Among the hundreds of penguins crowding the place, she spotted a young penguin she had never seen before. She had no doubt that he was her future mate. She decided to approach him but had to struggle through the bustling crowd. As she got closer, the young penguin seemed even more attractive. However, she suddenly lost sight of him. Nevertheless, the little penguin persevered in her quest. After numerous efforts, she finally managed to approach the young penguin. When she stood in front of him, she realized that her perception didn't exactly match what she had imagined from a distance. Despite this, she remembered the dream and the voice that had promised her she would meet the love of her life that day. The young penguin looked at her in surprise as she introduced herself. They decided to engage in some casual conversation, and the little penguin was enchanted. Before parting ways, they agreed to meet again. Despite the differences from her initial expectations, the little penguin had no doubts. Her dream had come true, answering the faith she had always placed in her prayers. Their relationship progressed quickly, because the little penguin thought, "Why wait when I've already recognized him as the love of my life?" In no time, they were already planning to build a family. Penguins are known for being monogamous animals, so it seemed like nothing could ever separate them. However, reality turned out to be different from what she had imagined. The young penguin wasn't romantic or attentive. He was constantly absorbed in his own affairs, ignoring what was important to the little penguin. She believed that time would bring changes, but she hadn't anticipated that things would get worse. The young penguin became increasingly irritable, getting annoyed over anything and looking for any excuse to argue. On the other hand, the little penguin tried to understand and avoid conflicts. But sometimes she would lose her patience, feeling like she was being unfairly treated, as the young penguin shifted the blame for all their relationship problems onto her. Despite everything, the little penguin didn't lose faith. If heaven had promised her that he was her true love, she would endure and wait for the young penguin to change. After all, faith could move mountains, right? The young penguin developed the habit of leaving home after every argument, spending the night elsewhere, and leaving his wife with a broken heart, making her feel responsible for everything. However, on one sad occasion, the young penguin didn't return. The little penguin went out in search of him, fearing the worst. It was then that a neighbor finally confessed the truth. "We didn't want to tell you to spare your feelings, but seeing how distressed you are, it's better that you know. Your husband won't be coming back. In fact, he went back to his homeland, where he presumably already had a family before coming here. You probably won't ever see him again." The little penguin felt as if her heart had been ripped out. From that moment on, she began to look up at the sky every night, not to pray anymore, but to demand explanations. She felt betrayed not only by her former mate, but also by God, whom she had always shown so much devotion to. As a result, she became bitter, irritable, and distrustful, quite the opposite of her usual self. Due to her attitude, everyone distanced themselves from her, which the little penguin interpreted as another divine injustice. Over time, a bachelor penguin named Jirai started visiting her. The little penguin didn't understand why, and she didn't care. She just wanted to suffer in solitude. However, Jirai's persistent visits gradually earned her trust, even though she hadn't yet shared the details of her failed relationship with him, as the pain was still too intense. They eventually became friends, and a desire to be something more started to grow. But the little penguin suppressed it, reminding herself that she hadn't succeeded in making her heaven-promised love bloom. If she couldn't be happy with her true love, how could she be with someone else? During a moment of vulnerability, while the two friends were stargazing, Jirai said, "There's something I need to confess to you. Actually, I saw you a long time ago, and I remember that when I first saw you, I knew you were the perfect mate for me." With a hint of regret, she replied, "I'm sorry, but I've already told you it's impossible between us." Understanding and respecting her decision, Jirai said, "I just want to share one of the most magical days of my life with you." The little penguin lowered her head, ready to listen to the story. "When I first arrived here with my group, I noticed you in the crowd. Something about you drew me in. It was not only your beauty, but also the way you made your way through all those penguins, as if it were the end of the world. What struck me the most was that it seemed like you were heading straight towards me. So, I tried to approach you, but for a moment I lost sight of you. When I found you again, I was about to introduce myself, but I saw you talking to someone else, another penguin. You were looking at him with so much joy that I realized you had found happiness with someone else, who might already have been your mate. I don't know. I just didn't have any choice but to walk away." That was the very day she had met her former mate, the day the heavens had promised her she would find the love of her life. Maybe it was Jirai she was supposed to meet. No, it's impossible. If that were the case, God would have done everything to set us on the right path, she thought. It was at that moment that she remembered everything she had experienced with her former mate, all the pain, all the sorrow, all the time she had clung to him. Now everything made sense. "I want to be your mate," she suddenly said to Jirai. Jirai jumped for joy. Her dream was coming true, but he couldn't help but ask her about the sudden change. "I've just finally realized that God gives us what we ask for, but along the way we get confused, we lose our way, we make mistakes. And that's when He allows us to experience our bad decisions, not out of cruelty, but with the intention of guiding us back to the right path and toward the person He had destined for us from the beginning," she replied. Jirai understood her perspective. Let us now take some time to reflect on this story and what it teaches us. How many times have you clung to someone or something without considering that, maybe along the way, you got confused, and that person or thing isn't really meant for you? How many times have you questioned the heavens for your suffering, only to realize later that without those hardships and difficult moments, you would never have let go of certain chains? Now come the important questions. If you're suffering right now, why are you experiencing this suffering? Why do you keep holding on to something that hinders you on your journey? Why don't you undergo a process of purification and let go of all those who don't deserve to be in your life?